Man, oh man, Don Lemon. This is an interesting one. Listen, everybody. The views and opinions of Jamel Saladin does not reflect the views and opinions of the podcast with Soul nor Sean G. There's a lot going on with this story right here. First off, President Donald Trump called Don Lemon a sleazebag.
Know anything about the Don Lemon thing, but he's a sleazebag. Everyone's known that. He's a washed-up. Probably, from his standpoint, the best thing that could happen to him. He's getting, he had no viewers. He was a failure. He was a failed host, and now he's in the news. I didn't know anything about it.
Now, Pam Bondi had some stuff to say that I want to address. Megyn Kelly had some things to say that I want to address, and the media is saying that Don Lemon can be charged with the Ku Klux Klan Act. Ku Klux Klan Act. And I definitely want to go over that, right? Because I don't think it even applies, which is a little bit disrespectful to even charge somebody with that, knowing that it doesn't apply. It's kind of like sarcastic, and you joke a little. You're like mocking why it was intended. So that can rub people very much the wrong way, right? But let's just get into the fact of why you were even there, my boy. Like, I don't really understand why you was out there. I don't. Me personally, right? And I won't get too political with you guys, but you went to Minnesota to ask the pastor of a church some questions during service, because the pastor of the church also doubles as an ICE agent. So you thought that would be the best time to ask these questions? Bro, I think you're reaching, right? And I don't know why you were ostracized in the first place from media, right? Let me just say this, Don. The whole pants sagging thing, I was on your side with that. The entire thing.
Please, black folk, pay attention to and think about what has been presented in recent history as acceptable behavior. Pay close attention to the hip-hop and rap culture that many of you embrace, a culture that glorifies thug and reprehensible behavior.
Let's talk about race. Let's talk about black-on-black violence.
The outrage that I have is in the lack of really the national attention to what is an epidemic of crime in the black community, committed largely by blacks.
Why aren't we talking about it? Good question. So listen to this.
The reason there is so much violence and chaos in the black precincts is the disintegration of the African American family.
He's got a point. In fact, he's got more than a point. Bill?
Raised without much structure, young black men often reject education and gravitate towards the street culture, drugs, hustling, gangs. Nobody forces them to do that. Again, it is a personal decision.
He is right about that too. But in my estimation, he doesn't go far enough. Because black people, if you really want to fix the problem, here's just 5 things that you should think about doing. Here's number 5, pull up your pants. Walking around with your ass and your underwear showing is not okay. In fact, it comes from prison when they take away belts from the prisoner so that they can't make a weapon. And then it evolved into which role a prisoner would have during male-on-male prison sex. The one with the really low pants is a submissive one. You get my point? Number 4 now is the N-word. By promoting the use of that word when it's not germane to the conversation, have you ever considered that you may just be perpetuating the stereotype the masser intended, acting like a nigger? A lot of African Americans took offense to that too, and I wondered if I gave the right advice. I really did. But confirmation came the very next day on my way home when I exited the subway on 125th Street in Harlem. This little kid in a school uniform, no older than 7 years old, he was crying his eyes out as he walked down the sidewalk with his mother. I'm going to be honest here. She turned to him and she said, "I'm sick of you. You act like an old-ass man. Stop all that crying, nigger." Is that taking the word back? Think about that. Now, number 3, respect where you live. Start small by not dropping trash, littering in your own communities. I've lived in several predominantly white neighborhoods in my life. I rarely, if ever, witness people littering. I live in Harlem now. It's an historically black neighborhood. Every single day I see adults and children dropping their trash on the ground when a garbage can is just feet away. Just being honest here.
I was on your side, right? And you made some great points, Don. However, right now, I don't know where, it seems like you may be ostracized. D.L. Hughley is funny as a comedian, but he doesn't really give me that Dick Gregory vibe. Maybe he does, right? I don't know. It just seems like he has a hard on for Trump in general, right? So I don't know if you're painting. I mentioned that because I don't know if you're painting a red target on your back by just that association there. I don't know if things are making it better or worse for your situation, and I have you out here pulling all these type of stunts. Now, nobody asked me, but my personal feeling is this. The migrants should not be in America, and they have to go because we have resources here for Americans, and it has to be America first, right? So if you're not a citizen, then we would just kindly ask that you leave, but I could kindly ask, that don't mean you're going to leave. So at that point, Mr. Holman will show up and kindly escort you up off this joint, right? Fine. You're out there protesting against that? You want migrants to stay? I don't really know your fight. I don't know. So a lot of times I think people are just bandwagoning things. I don't know if people are thinking things through, because we need our resources for citizens at the end of the day. Certain things, even though you may not dig the color of the person who's saying it, but at the same time, I send my child to school, and if there's already 27 people or students in the class, I don't need that pushed up to 34 to 37 because there's someone here that doesn't belong in this country, but at the same time, while they're here, we have to send them to school, and then it's a lot. You guys know what's going on. I don't want to get too much into that. I just really don't know. And listen, reach out to the Podcast with Soul anytime, Mr. Lemon, and we can definitely set up a live where we can discuss this. And I would like to even know why you was out there protesting anyway, right? Outside of the 2 murders, right? Why was you protesting? But let's get into some of the commentary on Pam Bondi, because I found her commentary and Megyn Kelly's commentary kind of hilarious, right? So let's get into that a little bit. Good.
Pam Bondi, thank you so much for giving us a little bit of insight into...
Hold on, I don't like the volume. Let's turn that volume up. Why is the volume so low? Pardon me.
This week, there's been a lot that has happened, and at the end of the week, we saw a lot of arrests. Attorney General Pam Bondi, thank you so much for giving us a little bit of insight into this week. There's been a lot that has happened, and at the end of the week, we saw a lot of arrests in the case of all of these people who stormed into that church in St. Paul, Minnesota. So I think the message that has been loud and clear, delivered from the DOJ, has been it doesn't matter who you are, even if you're Don Lemon, no one is above the law and people will be held accountable.
No one is above the law. And Laura, as you know, President Trump is the first president to house the House of Faith in the West Wing. So that should...
Pam, how many times y'all practice this, Pam? No one is above the law. And as you know, how many times you practice this, man? It got to come off authentic, Pam. It got to come off authentic. But let me let you cook. Sorry, Pam. Let me let you cook.
Should speak volumes for this country. And, you know, what happened? It was January 18th. It was a beautiful, icy Sunday morning. You had a congregation getting ready to go to church. Parents putting on their kids' shoes, their snow caps, grandparents getting their canes out. Parents.
She painting that picture. She painting that picture, Donnie. She painting that picture.
Coming to worship just like they do every Sunday. They thought it was an ordinary Sunday. It wasn't. Because while they were driving to church in a parking lot a few miles away, Don Lemon, Armstrong, others, we've charged 9 so far, were in a parking lot. And according to Don Lemon's words, they were planning a resistance operation on that little church.
Yo, is that your words, Donnie? Are those your words, bro? You're going to have to reach out to the podcast for Sold Down, for sure, right? Because you need all the media support you can get to tell your side of the story. So what does she mean by these were your words, bro? Are these in fact your words? Were you guys sitting in a parking lot? I know you didn't use resistance because that's crazy. Because right off the top, I could tell you that violates the FACE Act. And we'll get into the FACE Act in a second. And I'm sure you know this, Mr. Lemon. So I don't know why. This was a bad idea. It was just a bad idea. Let's just keep going.
These parishioners are coming in, and they didn't realize they had already been infiltrated. They had part of these attackers walking in with them, sitting next to them in the pews. They're there to worship God.
I can tell you right now, you're going to have a hard time with the FACE, like beating the FACE Act, right?
As the minister starts preaching, Pastor Parnell is wonderful, the nicest man. He was shocked. They all come in, they were caravanning there, cars bumper to bumper, all of them, the 9 we indicted, all caravanning together. They storm in that church from all directions, start screaming.
Yo, bro, y'all got to read the room. You understand? You let your anger allow you to make decisions that at the end of the day is not gonna have the impact that you thought it was gonna have. It's not gonna have the impact that you thought it was gonna have. You gotta control your frustration and your anger, and it gotta be better planning and timing. Planning and timing. I think this was a wasted shot. And I don't even know at what, right? It's unclear what the actual cause was, and if the cause was what you want to get rid of ICE, who's going to get rid of, in my opinion, I'm a taxpaying citizen, who's going to get rid of the illegals here that's sucking up all the resources?
Screaming, chants in unison, horrible chants. One man screams, "This ain't the house of God. This is the house of the devil."
God forbid. Lemon, you was out here wilding, bro. Anyway, she's painting a picture like y'all was really true vigilantes. You understand?
A little girl later recounted that she thought her mom and dad were going to be killed. Parents were blocked from getting upstairs to get their children out of Sunday school.
I think she's capping at this point. But that's my opinion. It doesn't matter but I do think now she's embellishing a lot. I don't know if you was in there holding anybody hostage and all that stuff, but you gotta, everyone should have been on board. But then again, none of y'all should have went in there. You don't do that anyway. Somebody's having service and that was ballsy and it was rude and it was a bunch of things. You just don't do that.
Some of the lucky women ran out the side door, falling on the ice, legs up in the air. One woman hurt her arm.
Pammy, you out. Yo, Pam, you are wilding in this story right here. Huh? It was total mayhem. They were lucky to get away. That's not Don. I'm sorry. That's not Mr. Lemon. He's a frail, older, homosexual guy. He's not on that type of timing. You understand? He's not on that type of timing. He seems usually pretty level-headed, if you ask me. But I don't know what made him do this. Maybe he wanted to get back in the limelight, and like Trump said, he's back in the limelight. Is this the best thing that ever happened to Don? Is this the best thing that happened to Don Lemon in a while?
So badly she had to go to the hospital. Parishioners were blocked from exiting the church. Don Lemon, on video, blocked one of them, screaming, yelling at the pastor. That's illegal in this country. When we say God bless America, we mean it. We're going to protect America. And if you do that in any house of worship in this country, we're going to find you, we're going to indict you, and I'm going to prosecute you.
And for the
Anyway, I think she means business, old boy. Huh? I think she means business. You might want to take it easy. Hold on. I want to go to another another video right now. Where's the Megyn Kelly video? Because she is hilarious. We got to watch for commercials. Sometimes they try to sneak in a commercial. But let's listen to Megyn Kelly.
We woke up this Friday morning to some breaking news. Don Lemon, the former CNN host who now makes a fool of himself on his bizarre YouTube channel, has been arrested by the feds for his role in the now infamous agitator-led ICE protest at City's Church in St. Paul, Minnesota during Sunday service on January 18th. According to reports, he's been charged with 2 federal crimes: conspiracy against rights, also known as the Ku Klux Klan Act, a felony. That's where you...
All right, this is Cap right here. Although I did appreciate you getting at him, you understand? That was funny, Miss Kelly. That was funny right there. However, I don't need you out here embellishing on the truth. He has not been charged with the Ku Klux Klan Act because he cannot be charged with the Ku Klux. Well, they could charge. I guess they can charge him, but he hasn't been charged yet. However, it doesn't apply, the Ku Klux Klan Act. What does apply is the FACE Act. He's wilding. Let's continue listening to your embellishments.
Violate somebody else's civil rights like that to attend a worship service. And he's been charged also with violating the FACE Act, which makes it a crime to, quote, by force or threat of force or by physical obstruction, intentionally injure, intimidate, or interfere with, or attempt to injure, intimidate, or interfere with any person lawfully exercising or seeking to exercise the First Amendment right of religious freedom.
She's right about that. Just interfering with their religious exercises makes you admissible for breaking the FACE Act.
At a place of religious worship, okay? So if he, in short, by physical obstruction, interfered with someone's ability to go to church, he's in trouble. And that's what they're alleging. That he and others went into that church, they obstructed the aisles, they obstructed the entrances, the exits, the ability of parents to get downstairs to get their children who were in the preschool sort of waiting area where you put your kids to Sunday school while you're at the main church, and that they did it knowing that they'd be...
That's the thing right there. Intentional or unintentional. That could be a game of semantics. I think things kind of played. I think you guys could have planned that better, but then again, I also said I don't even think you should have been there in the first place. I don't even know what was the purpose of this protest. Now let's take a look at a couple of things. What is the Ku Klux Klan Act? Ku Klux Klan Act is the Civil Rights Act of 1871. I'm going to say, man, this was a real sarcastic act, right? Don Lemon, pro-black, and I will call him that because, again, I agree with the statements he had made years ago that made him unpopular with Russell Simmons. You had some great points, bro, but you got pushed back for it, and people weren't feeling it. But hey, so it was passed because southern states were refusing or failing to protect newly freed black Americans from lynchings, night raids, voter intimidation, political assassinations, organized terror groups operating with local law enforcement blessings. So it just doesn't apply. It's kind of, like I said before, it's a jab and an insult to the black community. The act gave the federal government teeth to step in when states wouldn't. Key powers of the KKK Act made racial terror a federal crime. If groups conspired to stop people from voting, threaten elected officials, deny constitutional rights, the federal government could prosecute them. You didn't do any of those things. I don't think you denied anybody their constitutional rights, but let's see what type of evidence they have. Does the Ku Klux Klan Act apply to Don Lemon? No, it does not. In modern usage, covers two main legal pathways. That's civil liability. This is when the government officials, a government official acting under color law, violates someone's constitutional rights. It doesn't do any of that, right? Don Lemon is a private citizen, not a state actor. So, let's deal with the FACE Act. What is the FACE Act? Freedom of Access to Clinical Entrances Act. Passed in 1994. This is a bit more logical. It was created to stop force, threats, or obstruction aimed at people trying to access certain protected places. What the FACE Act actually protects. The law protects access to reproductive health services like abortion clinics, family planning centers, places of religious worship, churches, mosques, synagogues, temples. So, a person violates the FACE Act if they, by force, threat, or physical obstruction, which they said you did. They said they got you on camera, Don. Intentionally block access. They said they got you doing that. Intimidating or threatening. They got a few of you guys saying that you you were wilding out in there, saying it wasn't a place of God, it was a place of the devil. But here's the third one. Interfering with someone receiving services, providing services, attending religious worship. You guys kind of did all three there. And the key word is intentional. And the fact that you said that you guys were in the parking lot planning this thing, I think that's admissible by definition to be intentional. What the FACE Act does not require, it does not require conspiracy, being part of an organization, government authority, long-term planning, hate group affiliation. All in all, Mr. Lemon, I don't know. It's not like you asked for a certain group's help with this situation, right? You're not calling on the black community to come help you out of this situation. I don't know if we're too busy right now, or if we're just out here busy doing us, laughing at memes and all type of nonsense. Outside of DL Hughley, I don't see a lot of, maybe there will be support for you. But I don't really know what was the purpose of the protest, whether it was in lieu of the murders or something else. That being said, best of luck to what you got going on. Again, you can reach out to Sean G at the Podcast with Soul And I'm sure he'll be happy to have you up here to tell your version of why you were actually there, what you were trying to accomplish. You understand? My name is Jamel Saladin. Do hit the like button. Do subscribe. Podcast with Soul. Peace out.